Have you ever heard of HRV or heart rate variability? And if you've looked at your HRV or heart rate variability, have you ever wondered why it's so low or suddenly dropped even though you're doing everything right? If you're in your 30s, 40s, or beyond, your HRV might be telling you more than just how well you slept. It could be signaling hormonal shifts related to perimenopause. So, this video is for women in midlife struggling with insomnia, fatigue, anxiety, or burnout, especially if you've noticed your HRV numbers tanking. So, first, what is HRV and why should you care? HRV stands for heart rate variability, and it's the variation between heartbeats and regulated by your autonomic nervous system or your ANS. The higher your HRV, you have better stress resilience, sleep quality, recovery, and heart health. Lower HRV is linked to chronic stress, poor sleep, inflammation, and overtraining. How is it measured? Usually, wearables like your Garmin, Aura, Whoop, Apple Watch, or Fitbit typically measures your heart rate variability overnight during sleep. This is the most accurate view of what your nervous system is doing overall on average. And why does it matter? Because HRV is your nervous system's report card. I find in my patients it's much better to look at heart rate variability as a measure of how well their nervous system or stress is being managed, mainly because it doesn't rely on subjective measures like how are you or how have things been or what's your stress like. Now, in perimenopause, which can start late 30s to mid 40s and even later, can impact your sleep, can cause insomnia, trouble falling asleep, frequent night waking, anxiety, feeling wired but tired, night sweats, mood swings. All of these symptoms can affect your HRV. We also know that hormonal fluctuations like estrogen, progesterone, melatonin, and cortisol rhythms can also be impacted, which directly impact your sleep stages and your heart rate variability. When we looked at research looking at sleep disturbance and HRV in perimenopausal women and postmenopausal women, the findings were actually quite interesting. Perimenopausal women actually didn't show major HRV changes at baseline, but over 6 months, when they had ongoing poor sleep, their total HRV actually increased. Now, this was a short term sign of autonomic overdrive, meaning their nervous system was overcompensating for the stress that perimenopause was putting on their body. But what we noticed in postmenopausal women is that their HRV showed an unfavorable pattern. This is reduced vagal activity, reduced nervous system resiliency. So, if this happens in perimenopause, it might not impact your nervous system right away, but left unchecked long term, this can lead to uh, poor resilience, poor recovery, and just generally poorly regulated nervous systems. So, in perimenopause, we have common culprits like poor quality sleep. We have less deep sleep because of the hormonal changes that happen in perimenopause. And you add alcohol to this, for example, and things are going to be way worse. We also have hormonal disruption. One thing that happens mainly in perimenopause is a lack of consistent ovulation. When we have a lack of consistent ovulation, we are not going to be making progesterone. Progesterone requires ovulation to be made. So, this low progesterone can negatively impact your nervous system. Also, inflammation or blood sugar swings can be a culprit. We know that as you go through perimenopause, you are more likely to be insulin resistant, which means that you don't deal with blood sugar as well as you once might have. And so, this can also impact the way your nervous system is regulated. And high allostatic load, which includes chronic stress with especially no recovery, which I see so commonly in my patients. They're doing everything for everyone else, maybe their partner, their kids, their work, but they are not doing anything for themselves. And overtraining or underfueling can be a massive culprit. A lot of women who are typically moving towards, let's say, weight loss as a goal are often underfueling when they're not tracking what they're taking in. They intuitively, because of, history and diet culture and all of the things, intuitively, we tend to go lower on carbs, higher on fat, and typically underfuel. So when we're overtraining and underfueling, specifically at this time in your life where hormones are shifting, this can negatively impact your nervous system and HRV. So let's talk about how to improve HRV in perimenopause so that you are set for a regulated nervous system in menopause. These are tips backed by physiology and clinical practice. Number one is optimizing your sleep routine. consistent bedtimes, dark, cool rooms, avoid the doom scrolling before bed. Number two, support hormonal balance. This specifically, I would recommend you seek professional guidance with. In perimenopause, there is a role for herbal therapies such as black cohosh and Vitex, but there also is a role for bioidentical hormone replacement therapy when it makes sense to help stabilize hormones so that symptoms don't feel all over the map. Number three is daily vagus nerve support. Specifically, I tell my patients to hum. Not many people want to do deep breathing or meditation when they've never done it before. So I recommend that my patients do humming. There was actually research that looked at humming positively influencing the vagus nerve and therefore bringing the nervous system to a more regulated state. I tell my patients set a timer on their phone, 30 to 60 seconds, and hum. Other things you can do are cold exposure, specifically cold water splashed on the face, an easy thing to add to your already, daily routines like washing your face and brushing your teeth can help regulate that vagus nerve. Number four is balanced movement. Avoid overtraining, favor strength training with enough recovery. Cardio can be mixed in there, but all of my patients in perimenopause that are doing HIIT every single day, that is going to be taxing on their nervous system. Work with somebody to create a exercise plan. You don't necessarily have to have rest days where you do nothing, but make it recovery, an active recovery day where you're stretching, where you're doing some light cardio, where you're getting your steps in. And track and adjust. Your HRV gives you feedback. Use it as data, not judgment. This can help us understand what's working, what's not, and how to make a plan. HRV is not just a fitness stat, it is a reflection of your internal load and hormonal shifts. If you are in perimenopause, struggling with energy, sleep, metabolism, tracking HRV can help you get ahead of burnout. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. And if you found this helpful, give it a like and subscribe. If you want help interpreting your HRV and creating hormone supports, reach out.